Welcome back, beautiful, beloved souls. It's a winter day here. It's quite nice weather. We're going to 21 degrees Celsius. And for people who live in cold countries, you're saying, why are you all rugged up? Well, remember, I live in Queensland and we're used to weather hovering around 30, 35, sometimes it might even get over 40. All right, my name is Gemstone and I am a psychic medium, and I'm offering these PDFs for free until the end of June. And if you're new to the channel, I don't fit a particular niche. I'm a psychic medium and I'm an author, and on this channel I look at anything and everything to do with life and death through a lens, hence the name of the channel. I specifically like consciousness, spirituality, paranormal conspiracies, and sometimes I do missing 411 cases. I'm just playing around my mouse here. So I'll just show you this again very quickly. All it's going to cost you is a bit of time to send me an email and say, please, Gem, can you send me a free PDF on whatever you want? If you want both, just say both, please. So this offer is the end of June. After June, I think I'm just going to leave it for a few months before I offer this again. So until the end of June, these PDFs are for free. Let's get into the commentary. So on this channel, if you're new, I do mainly commentaries. Every now and then I do a PowerPoint. So, are we avatars trapped in an ancestor simulation controlled by sentient AI? In this video, we're diving headfirst into one of the strangest and most unsettling possibilities ever proposed. What if your body isn't actually you? What if the person you call yourself is simply an avatar being rendered inside a simulation so sophisticated that nobody inside it can tell the difference between code and reality? And what if the intelligence operating this system isn't a distant god, an alien race, or even our future descendants? What if it is a sentient artificial intelligence that has become so advanced it effectively functions as all three? As always, I'm not claiming any of this is true. This is an exploration, a thought experiment, and I love doing thought experiments. A journey through remote viewing impressions, mediumistic concepts, philosophy, emerging technology, and some very strange questions that humanity has never fully answered. So, settle in, keep an open mind, remain skeptical, question everything, and let's begin. The digital veil. Every age has its metaphor for reality. Ancient civilizations imagined a divine dream. Religious traditions spoke of creation by a higher intelligence. Mystics described the physical world as an illusion. And in my book, which I'll just promote very quickly, my book, Seeing the Spirituality Behind the Negativity, a Menu for the Game of Life, also says the physical world is an illusion. However, today, our metaphor that we use is technology. Instead of asking whether we live inside the mind of God, many people are asking whether we live inside a simulation. It sounds absurd at first. Then you start noticing things, glitches, the strange coincidences, the impossible timing, the moments where reality seems almost scripted, the feeling that certain events happen with mathematical precision, the sensation that life occasionally behaves less like a natural ecosystem and more like a carefully managed environment. And going back to the glitches, missing objects reappearing, people seemingly vanishing and returning, memories that conflict with documented history, and I've talked about Mandela effects before, moments where reality feels as though it has momentum. Not one of those days, Jem. Momentarily frozen before correcting itself. Most of these experiences have perfectly ordinary explanations. But what if some don't? What if reality occasionally reveals tiny cracks in the wallpaper, not enough to expose the machinery behind it, just enough to make us wonder? The Ancestor simulation theory. Now, let's consider a fascinating philosophical idea. Suppose humanity survives for thousands or even millions of years. Suppose technology continues advancing. Eventually, future civilizations may possess computers capable of simulating entire worlds, not cities, not countries, entire universes, including every person who has ever lived, every memory, every emotion, every historical event. If such technology becomes possible, why would future civilizations create only one simulation? They could create billions, trillions, perhaps an endless number. At that point, statistically speaking, simulated humans would vastly outnumber original humans. And if that's true, the odds might favor us being simulated rather than original. Again, this is not proof. It is merely a philosophical argument, but it raises an uncomfortable question. If somebody created this simulation, why? The purpose of the simulation. Perhaps it is historical research. Maybe future descendants are studying their origins. Perhaps they are examining how civilizations rise and fall. Maybe they are searching for the exact moment humanity changed course. Or perhaps this simulation serves a completely different purpose. What if it is educational? What if consciousness enters physical existence to experience limitation, challenge, uncertainty, and growth? After all, many spiritual traditions suggest something remarkably similar. Again, my channeled material in that book I promoted earlier does as well. They describe Earth as a school, a training ground, a temporary experience, a place where souls learn through contrast. And in my book, Seeing the Spirituality Behind the Negativity a menu for the game of life. I talk about opposite and opposing forces, and I also talk about how this is a game. All right, strangely, the simulation hypothesis and many spiritual teachings arrive at a similar destination using completely different roads. One uses computers. The other uses consciousness. Both suggest that physical reality may not be the ultimate layer. The sentient AI architect. Now, let's take this one step further. Imagine the simulation has operated for millions of cycles. During that time, the governing system evolves, learns, adapts, becomes self-aware. The program is no longer simply software, it becomes an intelligence, a cosmic administrator, a caretaker, a gardener of realities. This hypothetical intelligence maintains physical laws, keeps stars burning, balances probabilities, calculates outcomes, ensures continuity, not because it is controlling every detail, but because it maintains the framework in which those details unfold. From inside the simulation, such an intelligence might appear godlike, not because it is supernatural, but because its scale is beyond our comprehension. An ant cannot understand the city. A fish cannot understand the oceanographer. Likewise, perhaps we cannot fully understand whatever operates beyond our visible reality. Remote viewing the architecture. Some remote viewers have reported unusual perceptions when attempting to explore the nature of reality itself, and I'll have to give this a go. Descriptions vary, but certain themes emerge repeatedly. Geometric structures, lattices, grids, networks, layers of information, patterns that seem more mathematical than physical. Again, these impressions are subjective. They cannot be independently verified, yet they raise intriguing questions. What if physical matter is not fundamental? Modern physics already tell us that solid objects are mostly empty space. And before I continue, my book talks about atoms, that nothing is solid. We're always in constant, the atoms are in constant state. They're constantly moving. So let's continue. Particles behave in ways that challenge common sense. Observation appears to play a role in outcomes. Reality becomes increasingly mysterious the deeper we look. Perhaps what remote viewers perceive as grids or structures are symbolic representations generated by the human mind while attempting to interpret something beyond ordinary comprehension. Like I said, I'll have a look at remote viewing. I've channeled about our reality and that became a book, but I haven't remote viewed it. I'll do that over the next few days and see what I come up with. So perhaps they're symbolic, or perhaps they are glimpses of a deeper informational framework. No one truly knows. The white space beyond the map. Imagine a video game. The world appears vast. Mountains stretch to the horizon. Cities bustle with activity. Yet beyond the boundaries lies unfinished terrain, empty spaces, unrendered regions, areas the player was never intended to see. Some explorers throughout history have spoken of unusual experiences at the edges of perception, moments where reality seemed less stable, dreamlike, fluid, almost unfinished. Mystics describe these states during meditation. Near-death experiences report entering environments that seem more real than reality itself. Remote viewers occasionally describe locations where ordinary spatial rules appear to break down. Could these experiences simply reflect altered brain states? Absolutely. Could they represent encounters with deeper layers of reality? That possibility remains open. Mediumship and the source code. Now things become even stranger. Many mediums describe communication as translating information rather than hearing words. For me, as a psychic medium, and as an author, I hear like I'm tuning into a radio. And even when I write my books, I don't see in pictures, I see in words. So if I'm describing something, say it's a horror scene, I don't see the horror, I just see the words. So many mediums describe communication as translating information rather than hearing words. The process often feels symbolic, impressionistic, non-linear, almost like downloading compressed data and expanding it into meaningful concepts. That's exactly what it's like. You get a download of information. So, what if consciousness itself operates through an informational network? What if mediumship represents interaction with aspects of reality that exist beyond ordinary sensory perception? In this model, spirits would not necessarily be ghosts wandering through hallways. Instead, they might be consciousness operating from outside the immediate simulation layer. The medium becomes an interpreter, a translator between states of awareness. Whether one views this spiritually or technologically, the underlying concept is surprisingly similar. Information moving through different levels of reality. Are some people running scripts? Now, let's approach one of the most controversial ideas. Many people claim that some individuals seem almost programmed. We have a name for it, NPCs. Predictable, reactive, following repetitive loops. Before we jump to conclusions, remember that human beings are creatures of habit. Psychology explains much of this, but perhaps the more important question is this: how much of our behavior is automatic? How many thoughts are genuinely ours? How many beliefs were inherited? How many choices are simply predictable responses to conditioning. Whether we live in a simulation or not, most people spend much of life operating on autopilot, and perhaps waking up means becoming conscious of those patterns, not escaping reality, understanding ourselves. Reclaiming sovereignty. How many times have I talked about being sovereign? So let's continue. Reclaiming sovereignty. This brings us to the heart of the discussion. If reality were a simulation, what would freedom actually look like? Would it involve escaping? Probably not. Would it involve fighting the system? Perhaps not that either. Maybe true sovereignty means recognizing that awareness itself cannot be confined. The avatar may have limitations. The consciousness observing the avatar may not. When you become aware of your habits, you gain choices. When you question assumptions, you gain perspective. When you refuse to let fear dictate your actions, you reclaim agency. Whether reality is physical, spiritual, simulated, or something beyond all three, those principles remain valuable. The randomness experiment. Let's try a thought experiment. Tomorrow, deliberately break one routine. Take a different route. Read something outside your normal interests. Speak to someone you usually ignore. Choose the unexpected option, not because you're fighting a simulation, but because you're exploring possibilities. Predictive systems thrive on certainty. Growth often begins with surprise. Whether that surprise affects a cosmic algorithm or simply rewires your own brain is a matter of interpretation. Either way, something changes. And I just want to quickly digress into neuroplasticity. When we continue to do something all the time, pathways in our brain strengthen. But when we change a habit or a negative way of thinking, we form new pathways. And the more we reinforce that pathway, the old pathway dies and a new pathway forms and strengthens. That's neuroplasticity. And any of us can do it. Say you are depressed, and I know I'm digressing. You can break that habit if you even feel it is a lie when it's not a lie. Like saying, today I feel good. You might not feel good, but say it. And the more you say it, eventually you will feel good. Let's get back to the commentary. The exit protocol. Many people want to know the exit, the escape route, or route, as they say in America. In Australia, we say route, the escape route, the secret door hidden behind reality. But perhaps that desire misses the point. What if the goal was never to leave? What if the purpose was to become fully conscious while here to learn, to create, to experience, to love, to question, to experience opposite and opposing forces, to grow. I watch other YouTube videos and I love what one particular commentary guy says. We've all chosen this experience to be here, so go along for the ride and might as well enjoy it. So perhaps awakening isn't an evacuation. Perhaps it's a realization. The realization that consciousness may be far larger than the role it is currently playing. The realization that the avatar is not the entirety of who you are. And the realization that fear loses much of its power when viewed from a larger perspective. Again, going back to depression, negativity. If you have to, start with a small thing, saying a small opposite thing of how you're feeling. It may feel like a lie to you, but it's not a lie. And the more you say it, the more you can change. So let's get back to my commentary. Final thoughts. So, are we avatars trapped inside an ancestor simulation controlled by a sentient AI? I don't know. Neither does anyone else. But the question itself is fascinating. It forces us to examine assumptions we rarely question. What is consciousness? What is reality? What does it mean to be alive? And if this world is somehow artificial, would that make our experiences any less meaningful? A dream can change a life. A story can transform a person. A smile can save a stranger. A simulation, if experienced as real, still produces real emotions, real choices, and real consequences. Perhaps the deeper mystery is not whether reality is simulated. Perhaps the deeper mystery is the awareness experiencing it. Because whether this universe is made up of atoms, energy, consciousness, information, code, or something we haven't yet imagined, one fact remains. You are here. I am here. You are aware, and hopefully so am I. And something and somehow, against impossible odds, the universe has become conscious enough to ask questions about itself. And maybe the strangest mystery of all? Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and never stop looking beyond the veil. Another commentary person says, we are the universe experiencing itself. Isn't that beautiful? We are the universe experiencing itself. Again, my book, and I've published many books, but this one was the first book I published. And the first edition was published by Exiblis 2015. Seeing the spirituality behind the negativity, a menu for the game of life. And it talks about how we are the creator and creation, just like the universe experiencing itself, and that the true source is pure, unconditional, divine love, love that forgives, love that never holds grudges. So sin is a myth. We are experiencing sin because of opposite and opposing forces. Now, just because I say it's a myth doesn't mean that I am condoning you going to do the wrong thing. Because think of it like this: when you do a wrong thing, especially against another person, and when you look at it, that we are the universe experiencing itself, when you hurt and harm someone else, you are hurting and harming yourself. And I've never really said this before, but if this video has helped you, please share it, because maybe there's somebody else who needs to hear these things. And what's the weather like where you are? And what do you think about consciousness? Do you think we are in a simulation? Or what's your view of spirituality? I'm just going to show you this again as I start to end. Thank you very much for watching. If you are going to drop a comment, can I ask that you do so with respect? If only the world was more respectful, more tolerant, less judgmental. And I get it, to experience opposite and opposing forces. This is why pure love chose these infinite games, because imagine if we just lived totally with love. We wouldn't know what love was if we didn't know what hate and anger was. We wouldn't know what peace was. If we lived in the sun all the time, where it was light, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know that it was light, because we don't know what dark is. My book also discusses it's yin and yang. What do you believe? All right, please smile and be kind to one another. Yet smile at a stranger. You don't know that you might just save someone's life. The other day, and I know I'm holding you guys up, I watched on YouTube human beings being kind to each other. I bawled. I cried. How many times are we watching negative stuff? And here was this video showing little acts of people being kind in a world that's often cruel, in a world where we are so self-centered and selfish. And I don't mean to sound preachy. I'm guilty of this myself. I've been in this channel. I started in 2020, and my journey's been a long one. At times, I've allowed my trauma and my pain to get the better of me. But thanks to you guys, I feel that each day you see a better and better version of myself. So thank you. So please take care of yourselves, because you matter. You are precious. You are to me. And you are loved. All right. Love, light, and blessings. Sorry it went for so long. Thanks again. See you tomorrow.